Okay, Kevin, so I have this picture of a book from Amazon, What It Means to Be 98% Chimpanzee. So obviously this is a topic that has been going around among evolutionary circles, that there's a very close proximity between humans and chimps. And I know that you have a different view on that.
Quite a bit different view, yes.
So what's the news?
Well, I would call it the 1% myth. That really started back in a paper in 1975, before we really had much in the way of DNA sequencing. Some evolutionist, using our supposed evolutionary similarity to chimpanzee and a little bit of data and a lot of extrapolation, they proposed that we were only 1% different from chimpanzees. And so that really became the start of the 1% claim. And it started becoming popular because this fit an evolutionary concept. And as we find many times, if it fits an evolutionary concept, then it's kind of automatically taken, or shall we say it's at least taken far too easily. It's accepted far too easily, and this is one of those examples. Without much in the way of data, oh, it must be right, because evolution is right, so this must be right. And it really has been, shall we say, repeated and claimed and repeated for the last several decades. And even when the human DNA was finally sequenced in the early part of the 21st century, the claim was still being made, we're only 1% different, only 1% different. But now, as they're doing a much more careful job of comparing and of putting the sequences together, they're realizing, okay, it's not really 1% after all. And so now there's recognition, even the evolutionist community, that okay, maybe 4, 5, 6%, but I think that's even being way too favorable. Let me explain just one thing. You would think, okay, if we're going to compare, say the human has 23 chromosomes, and they're all in pairs, so you have 46 total chromosomes. Okay, so you'd think, well, what's the comparison of the human number 1 chromosome with the chimpanzee number 1 chromosome? But that's not how they do it. They take the human number 1 chromosome and they search all of the chimpanzee chromosomes to see if they can find little bitty sequences that line up. Doesn't have to have anything to do with it being gene structures or regulatory structures, just little bitty sequences, and see if they line up. That's how they come about with their comparisons. So
but you were also saying that there's quite a bit of difference between just the percentage of genome for the chimpanzee and the human.
Correct. There's almost 12% more DNA in the chimpanzee chromosomes than there is in the human.
And so how can you only get a 1% difference when you have 12%?
You ignore the 12%. That's the way you do it. Now, I don't know if the chimpanzee appreciates you ignoring the 12%, because it probably is a little important to the chimpanzee. So that's why in 2010 there actually was a paper that finally did a comparison of all the techniques used to compare chimpanzee chromosome with human chromosome, with fish chromosome, with cow chromosome. And this paper concluded that they're so flawed in all the ways they do this that you get totally different results depending on what method you use and the assumptions of the method being used. And so the paper really suggested that we can't make a claim of what the similarity is. Now, I promise you, they're still going to be claimed 1%, maybe 2%. But we know that you can't make really any claim at all. There's just no way at the moment to adequately compare.
When I first heard this story, from you, because I really hadn't heard it from other sources, it just really made me angry because it just seems so very deceptive. I mean, it's not a little bit deceptive. It's like, this is blatant, and they're sending this message out as proof or evidence for evolution, and it becomes like an icon of evolution.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like, well, and now they start to backtrack, and so, okay, are they going to send out an apology, do you suppose? Are they going to actually admit that they were wrong previously?
Yeah, just like they've sent out an apology for all the other things they were wrong about, yes.
I mean, this is just, I don't know if it's embarrassing for them, but it's
Well,
anger making for me.
It should be embarrassing because it shows how ready they were to jump to conclusions, how ready they were to accept false conclusions simply because they appeared to fit evolution without adequate data. So they should be embarrassed, but I don't think they will be too embarrassed, unfortunately.
Okay.